Okay. Hey, Katie, how are you? How are you doing?
I am so good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for being on the podcast. So, for those who don't know, Katie Winnen is, she's, I guess you say the owner or the leader in Take Care?
The founder,
The
owner, yeah.
founder of Take Care. And also she has the Self Love Clubhouse. So kind of go a little over, I guess, your journey, well, who you are, your journey, and then we'll take it from there.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm Katie. I am the founder of Take Care. We are an online community that's really focused on intersecting self-love and body acceptance with well-being. We talk about things like self-care and self-love and having a healthy relationship with food and enjoyable movement and mindset, overcoming anxiety, kind of all those things that are tied into health and wellness. But I really wanted to create a space where weight wasn't a discussion when we were talking about those things. So I wanted a place where it was completely weight exempt. So we don't talk about weight like gain or loss, or we don't talk about trying to lose weight, or we don't talk about measurements or sizes or anything like that. Because I know, and I can talk a little bit about, kind of my backstory about what led me to want to create that space. But I just know for so long, my health was so judged by my size and my weight. And I felt like that was so unfair because it was like not a reflection of me and my lifestyle. And I knew that. And I don't think that it's negative to be, to have variation in sizes. I think that that's what makes us also unique and diverse. And it just felt really awful to feel like I was judged on those things. And,
Right.
to know that I want to love my body and I want to do everything I can to show it love and respect. But here is somebody telling me that like, I can't be healthy, I can't be beautiful, I can't be valuable unless I'm thinner, unless I'm in this weight range, or unless I'm this pant size, something like that. So so I started Take Care last year, and we started as a Facebook group, as a free online community, and we still have that group. And honestly, it was a space I was really looking to create for myself. Like I knew that I wanted a space to find support and seek community and talk about these things, and to be able to share like this workout I did, but without making it about the calories I burned, and to be able to
Right.
share about this great meal that I ate, and be able to not have to worry about like, oh, and it was under this amount of calories, and then to also be able to talk about how, I went out and I ate all this really delicious food, and, it was like a really fun time and I didn't feel guilty about it. So I was really craving that space, and I felt like other people would connect with it too. So I just kind of went for it, and I launched the group, and was really grateful for the response that it had. I think really quickly, a lot of people started to dive into it, and we started to just create this community of like positivity and support where, people share their successes. They, ask questions, they ask for help, they seek support. And we're really just there to like help and inspire each other and just build this community. And so once I started Take Care, I realized like, okay, this is my place. At the time I was working at a job that I liked, but I knew it wasn't my end goal or my
Yeah.
end all be all. So I was really like, okay, I know that this is the place I'm meant to be. I know this is the work I'm meant to be doing. I just need to figure out how I actually can do that. And so, I just kind of like took it one step at a time. So I loved what Take Care was about. So I started to plan events, and I started to have local meetups, and we had a few self-love Saturdays that were really fun. That involved like some, mindful, enjoyable movement. And then we would have do self-love exercises, and that was really great. And we did a body positive pool party last summer, which was really
Oh,
fun.
that's so neat.
Yeah, it was so cool. And then we've done a few like self-love workshops, and they've just been really, really great. And from there, kind of realizing like, okay, how can I take this further, and how can I actually start to support the people in this group, and how can I actually make this my full-time focus? And then from there, I enrolled in the Institute of Integrative Nutrition into their holistic health program. So I'm certified in holistic health. And then I also, there's a nonprofit out here in the Bay Area called The Body Positive. And so I attended their training for professionals to become a facilitator of their curriculum. So essentially they have like their 5 competencies, and they have their body positive curriculum to living this body positive life of, with self-love, self-acceptance. And I got trained through them to be a facilitator of that. So it was really interesting to take what I learned from the body positive and what I learned through my holistic health certification and see how they work together, and if they work together, and bring that to Take Care. And really it kind of like led me down this path of figuring out how I can help people the most, you know, while being able to also be on my own and be able to focus on this full time. And then that's what led to creating the Self Love Clubhouse, just this monthly program of wanting to offer trainings and offer support, you know, in terms of like what self-love actually is and what that looks like to cultivate it, and what having a healthy relationship with food looks like, and, you know, what accepting your body looks like, just all these different things. So
Right.
yeah, so that's a bit about me.
Holy crap. No, I think it's amazing. Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like, I love, I mean, the reason why I decided to invite you onto the podcast is because even though I am big on fitness and nutrition, as I've gone through that journey, I think I can relate when, in a sense of like, the pressure of being a certain size and just this kind of like boundaries that aren't even real. And just the fact that it's more about your well-being versus how you look and how you know, more about how you feel than anything else, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I love what you're about, because it doesn't matter what size you are. It's just basically how you take care of yourself, you know, mentally and food-wise and everything, you know? And I feel like, I think more people need to hear your message. Big time.
Oh, thank you.
No,
and I think too that like what you mentioned is so connected to why I started Take Care, because, and I think you'll probably agree that you can't look at somebody and know how healthy they are, you know,
Right.
like you can look at somebody with a 6-pack and who like literally has no body fat on them, but you have no idea what it took to get there,
Right.
you know, or you have no idea what's happening internally, just as you could look at somebody who's in a larger body and, you know, you don't know what their lifestyle is about. And I think like, you know, health is so much more about your habits rather than, you know, the way that you look. So I think that it's really important to start breaking that stigma and say that, okay, like there's no way to physically represent health. You know, it looks so different for everybody and it may look different than what you think it would look like. But, you know, again, it's like, it's so much more than about how you look or, you know, what your body looks like.
No, right. 100%. I mean, like even before I was like bigger and stuff like that, I think I struggled so much with how I looked even before I gained some weight and everything. And then like once I was there, I was on this whole other mental thing. But more than anything, I think now I'm healthier mentally, which I feel like it's so important, which is why I love your Self Love Clubhouse is like you kind of have topics that besides, you still do fitness, you still do like, you know, nutritious meals and stuff, but you actually care about like the mental aspect of it, where I feel like so many people forget that that's more important than anything else in the entire world, honestly. And I feel like so I guess one question for you, if you could write like a definition for self-love, like Webster Dictionary came to you as like, Katie, like give us a definition, like what would it be?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I would say that self-love is loving and accepting yourself exactly as you are with no judgment or like concern about what anybody else thinks.
Oh,
I don't
so
know,
beautiful.
something like that.
No, that's so beautiful.
Thank
No,
you. Yeah,
perfect.
You totally caught me off guard. That was such a good question though. But yeah, I think it's really good. I mean, it's hard because I feel like self-love is so multifaceted. Like I feel like, you know, it's not just about looking, and that's why I wanted to create some type of program or something to like assist with this, because it's not just about being like, I love myself and I think I'm amazing, you know, and it's not just about looking in the mirror and liking what you see. And it's more than just feeling comfortable in your own skin. It's all of those things, but it's also about like how you treat your body, like, you know, like the way that you feed it, which is completely like unique to us all as individuals, you know, and that's what I think like having a healthy relationship with food is so important. And so it's also about like healing your relationship with food, making peace with it, and like knowing that what works best for you and what feels best for you could be so different from you and I, but like honoring that and not judging that. And that's also about like the movement that feels good to you. And it's about, like you said, your mindset, you know, like how you speak about yourself, how you think about yourself, the thoughts that you have, like all of those things. So it can be hard to sum up in a sentence, you know, but I think that it's like, it's just this like all encompassing, you know, like mental, physical, emotional, mind, body, soul. Like it's having that all on this level of just being like I love me and I accept me. And like, I think in loving me, I want to respect and care for me. So,
so I love that. Such a good definition. No, it's so good because I feel like, that's the most important thing, I guess, like respecting yourself, right? It's like, it doesn't matter about how you look or what you're doing. As long as you're like respecting your body, I feel like that's so important. It's so funny. Oh, good.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like in loving, and that's what I really learned in my journey, is that in loving myself came respecting myself and like what that looks like for me to to respect myself and what it looks like uniquely for me. So I think, you know, and Take Care and in the Clubhouse and, you know, talking to people individually, whether I'm working with them one-on-one or in groups, I never want to tell somebody like, okay, you have to eat exactly this, or you have to move exactly this way, or you have to do this exact thing, because I think what's so much more powerful and necessary is to show them how to find that for themselves, you know, like how to like show them how to do that, like I said, without judgment and being open. Because, you know, I think when you love your body, you want to show it respect. And I think that was a huge realization for me, is realizing that all the years that I was so terrible to it, like I thought awful things about it. I like abused it. I starved it. I overstuffed it. I I allowed people to treat it poorly. Like just all of these things. I overworked it. Thinking about all those things that I did to it, and it still showed up it was still there for me every single day. You know, like it's still like my lungs kept working, my heart kept beating, my brain was still working. Like no matter how awful I was to it, it was still there keeping me alive. And when I kind of realized that, like it made me realize that, oh my gosh, like I've been so terrible to it. And now I just want to be so kind to it, because my body doesn't need me, but I need it, you know, like your body
that's so beautiful. Like you're so deep. Like you are. No, that's so beautiful. Wow.
Well, not to get like too cheesy, but like I heard this this quote before that's like, your body is it's the home where your soul lives. And it's so true, you know. And it's like people say it's your temple, you know, and so it's the only one that you get. And it's really important to treat it well. And to, you know, that doesn't mean living a life that's free from like fun and delicious food and, you know, enjoyable experiences and anything else. But it just means like, remember that, you know, like remember how your body just loves you so much. And so many of us don't love it back. And we try to do these really awful things to it to change it, instead of like trying to accept it and become at peace with it and support it and respect it. So I think that's what was a huge shift in my like journey. And then wanting to share that with other people, to show them like, okay, like, you know, like there's a life that's so much better than constantly hating yourself and to just like beating yourself up. So
no, I totally agree. And I feel like, no, it's crazy. And I feel like not spoken too often about, but for example, like, let's say like, in my experience, like a lot of women I work with, like they are obviously trying to lose weight, and like what I think they don't understand, which is I feel like your message is so important, is that it starts mentally. For example, if you are all kind of talking to yourself in a negative way and having this crazy mindset and just kind of like, I guess, shitting on yourself basically, when you're not happy at a certain weight, losing a weight or becoming or looking a certain kind of way is not going to change that. You know, and I feel like so many women are so stuck on that. I mean, I was stuck on that. You know, I thought that once I looked a certain way, I would feel better. But when I got here, I was like, wait, like this is not even like I'm still like not damaged, but I still need to work on myself internally. You know, and I feel like I wish I would have learned that prior to doing all this, you know, like going through this crazy diets and trying these like waist trainers and these teas and stuff and all that stuff. And I feel like it's such an important message. Like I can't say that enough, because for real, like I think we're so focused on like getting to the end result of looking a certain way to feel a certain way, when it's totally reverse. You know, we need to feel a certain way first, and then it's like whatever you look like is what you look like. As long as you take care of yourself, it's fine. You know,
exactly.
It's just so crazy how like I feel like I don't understand why that message isn't pushed more. You know, but I think I would have your clubhouse where hopefully, you know, like women will learn more and spread the word and everything. So that's awesome.
And I couldn't agree more, because so actually when I was younger, when I was 13, I was kind of at my wit's end with my body. And, you know, I was in middle school. I didn't really know any better about or I just didn't understand a lot of when it came to nutrition and fitness. And I just was going to the doctor, like, you know, every now and then, and just every time would be told like, okay, you're morbidly obese, you're gaining weight, like you need to lose weight. And I had no idea what that meant. And I was getting so fed up with it. And so I found this all girls like fitness camp. I mean, it was a fat camp, you know, and I definitely don't say fat with any type of like negativity. I think it's just, you know, it's just an adjective. It's a descriptive word, like brown hair or blue eyes, you know, it's just like, but that's essentially what it was. It was an all girls fat camp in Pennsylvania. And I live in San Francisco. So I begged my parents to send me there. And so they agreed to, because they're like, okay, I think you'll learn a lot about nutrition. And I remember when I went, I just thought, okay, if I lose 5 pounds, I'm going to be so happy. Like that's all I need is to lose 5 pounds, you know, and to feel better about myself. And I went for 3 weeks and it was a really interesting experience. I lost more than that. I lost a lot more than that. And I came back and I just, nothing felt any different, you know? And I think that because the way that the emphasis that they put on the camp and on the girls there was about like, okay, like let's, you know, be restrictive with our food and let's work out 3 hours a day and, you know, things like that. But yet they were still doing things where they would do challenges and things like that and reward us with food, you know? So it was just like sending us really mixed messages about it.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's so weird. And,
oh my
and it
God.
wasn't really teaching us anything like helpful you know, it wasn't about acceptance and at all. So, but anyway, I came home and I lost a lot more than 5 pounds and I still was so unhappy. And, you know, like fast forward a couple years later and when I was a sophomore in high school and my habits were becoming more controlling and restrictive. And I ended up being diagnosed with an eating disorder. And at that point had lost like a lot of weight. Like I had lost like I lost over 60 pounds.
Wow.
And I was at my lowest weight and I was still so unhappy with myself. And I was still like, I don't like nothing has changed. I don't feel any better. Like, okay, I'm just continuously focusing on, okay, losing the next 10 pounds. And I was like, when is this going to end? Like, this is never going to stop. And I kind of realized when I remember like being at a friend's house, getting ready for homecoming and checking my weight and being like, oh my gosh, like something's wrong because I don't feel good. Like I know that what I'm doing is not okay. You know, like at this point, like losing this weight and because it was not a helpful thing at all. You know, it was not like something that was helping me whatsoever. And so I ended up going through recovery, but it was still like a really mixed, I honestly don't know how much recovery helped, like in terms of the recovery I sought out, because while I was being told to, you know, eat normally and to like accept myself and to heal this relationship, I was still being told that my BMI was too high, you know? And so it's just it was just like such a like weird place to be in, but it just totally is what you were talking about, because it's like, no, I realized that nothing I could have changed physically was mentally going to get me where I wanted to go. You know, like I could try to change my body all I want and have it be, you know, this perfect, quote unquote, perfect idea of what it was supposed to be. And that was never going to make me happy. And if like my goal was always to be happy and to feel good about myself and to feel comfortable in my own skin, I had to take a different approach. And that ended up happening, you know, like down the road, but that was a huge lesson for me. And that's something I remember now, like every time I slip back into like, oh, you know, because I think even the most confident, body positive people who love themselves the most still have bad days.
Of course,
even now on days when I feel like bad about myself and I feel like, oh, maybe that is the answer. I remember that like, no, that's not the solution whatsoever. Like, I know that if there's a problem in how I'm feeling, then it has to start with internally, you know, it has to start with my head, not my physical self.
Right. Of course. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, it kind of brings me to like the question I was going to ask you, kind of what made you get into self-love or just, I guess, seek out those things really, I guess, seek out kind of the whole mental aspect of it. Like what, was there an exact event? Like, was it that event that you're talking about now? Or was it like, what was it exactly that kind of like led you to this path?
That's a really good question. And I think that it was, I mean, that definitely contributed to it, you know, to like having that memory and having that experience definitely reinforced this idea that I have to find like help outside, or I have to do something deeper than just change my body or shrink myself. And I think what it was is just being really tired of having other people tell me that I wasn't healthy or I wasn't beautiful or I wasn't these things. You know, it was just like, sorry, one sec. But yeah, it was just like having somebody tell me otherwise. And it was like, I know my truth. And I know that what I'm doing is the best thing for me. And just really, just essentially I was getting really tired of other people telling me that I was wrong or that what I was doing, that my body was wrong or that something was wrong with me. And it was this realization that like, I'm not the problem. And it kind of happened really quickly for me. It was just like realizing that nothing about my body has ever been the problem, that it's always been like anybody who's made me feel like the problem is the problem, you know?
Ooh, I like that.
And it was like, I was like, this makes so much sense now. Like for all my life, I felt like I felt like I was wrong or that like my body was wrong or like I had to change. And I'm like, no, it's not me. It's like everybody else who's telling me that I have to, you know, like that's what the problem is. So I, you know, it's hard to think about like a specific incident where that was really shifted. Because I think it was so much more about like all of these little experiences that added up to it. I think it was like, I think it gradually happened. I think that, you know, after college, I started to become more interested in health and nutrition. And then I started to like want to explore these things. I got a job at Whole Foods when I was in college. So that really, sparked this interest in health and holistic health and nutrition. And so when I was working there, I really started to become interested in all these different things. But at the time, my goals were still weight focused. You know, I was still like very focused on how much I weighed. And I was very focused on like how this eating kale was going to help me lose weight, or taking a supplement was going to help me lose weight, you know? So that was still a driving force for me. And then I think from there, I realized that like, okay, you know, being completely focused on my weight is taking me away from like all these other things that I should be paying attention to. You know, I started to get more invested in how, you know, respecting my body and wanting to take care of it. So really paying attention to what I was putting into it and how it was making me feel. And I think like I started to realize that I strangely felt shame for not losing weight, like when I was doing good things for it. Like two of my best friends and I we did this like recommitment to our health. We found this nutritional system that like, one of my mentors had said really incredible things about, and we all decided like, okay, like we want to see how this makes us feel. So we all tried it and we all felt amazing. And like, I know I did, like, I felt so energized. I felt so like mentally clear. My anxiety felt really controlled. I felt stronger. I felt all these things, but I hadn't lost any weight. And then the two friends that I did it with, like, one had lost a significant amount of weight. She lost around 70 pounds. And
gosh.
And this was over a long period of time, but she was definitely making like a physical had a physical transformation. And then another one of my friends was always pretty athletic. And she was just like, you know, getting so lean and like gaining all this lean muscle. And I was just like, what am I doing wrong? And then it made me realize that like, this is not about, you know, like, why am I discounting all of these great things that I'm feeling just because I haven't lost any weight, you know?
Right.
And it's like, it made me realize that losing weight is a side effect, you know, like for me, it shouldn't be my main priority. Like, and that was for me, you know, for me. So, cause it was like all of these things that I was wanting to feel, I was wanting to feel energized. I was wanting to get better sleep. I was wanting to feel strong. I was totally like discounting those and disregarding them because I hadn't lost, you know, weight. And I just thought, why do I, and I remember asking like, why do I feel bad about that? Like, why do I feel guilty about that? And then starting to put the pieces together of like, okay, there's a flaw in something that's way bigger than me, you know, like, and there's like messages that I'm getting. There's people who are saying things that are making me feel like, you know, like I should care about that more than anything, or that if I don't lose weight, then I'm doing something wrong, and that it's me that's messing up, and it's me that's doing something wrong. So I think, like, long answer to that question, it was a lot of like really gradual things, and that really just kept like small things that kept happening that made me realize, okay, this is about my mindset. This is about my mind. This is about how I feel internally. This is about me doing the inner work. This is about, you know, like focusing on the intrinsic results rather than the extrinsic results. So it was a lot of little things, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like your whole life almost led up to this. It's just kind of crazy, right? It's insane.
It did. And I think when I started like kind of going back to what I said earlier about starting to take care, what I realized is that like, oh my gosh, like this has been a huge part of my life that it's been such a part of me, and it's been something that's so important to me. And I've totally discounted it as a way that I can like actually help other people, you know, like this has been something that I've struggled with for so long and that I've worked really hard to overcome. And like, maybe there's other people that need help doing that same thing, you know? So, it really was my whole life. I mean, I was 8 years old when it was my New Year's resolution to lose weight, you know? And I remember, and honestly, like, that's kind of normal. Like most girls are like in middle school when they start becoming very aware of their bodies and aware of wanting to lose weight. So I remember being really, really young and being very aware of myself and aware of like, and I think that's kind of around the same time when other people started bringing it to my awareness too, like my doctors and, you know, like girls at school would like say mean comments or do like mean things. So that's when I started to think that like, okay, well, if everybody's like, if people are calling me names and if people are saying that like I'm fat or that like I'm too big, then the solution must be to just lose weight. So that became like a huge focus for me, is feeling like I have to lose weight. I have to lose weight.
Right.
So it has been something, you know, that I can like, for kind of as far back as I can go, you know, for most things in my childhood, like that's been a huge part of me, you know? So I think overcoming that or moving past that was huge too, but it's definitely been like a lifelong like journey for sure.
No, of course. Yeah. I feel like I think it all happened for a reason, I want to say.
Yeah,
you know,
for
because
sure.
look at you now.
It really did. And that's why I don't, you know, they say that your story is the most powerful thing that you have. And I think it's so true. You know, like I don't regret any of it. And I don't wish any of it happened differently, because I'm just so thankful to be here now and to be able to say like, I like, you know, went through all that stuff and I had those experiences so that I can share them with other people. And I can say like, okay, this is what worked for me and this is how I want to give back and this is how I want to help. So yeah, I wouldn't change it at all, you know, because I know that we're both, you and I and everybody else, is right where we're supposed to be in the moment. You know, it's like, you know, you and I here, like anybody listening to this, like anybody at all, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing right now. And everything else that's ever happened in your life has led up to that. So, you know, changing any of it like would change all of it.
No, I totally agree. So I guess if you could change, I guess, one stigma behind self-love that maybe irritates you a bit or you feel like is like stupid, which would it be?
That's a really good question. I think that it would probably be that self-love isn't relative to everybody, you know, or like it's not, you know, like it's not important for everybody. I think that there's a lot of people that think like, oh, that's not something that I need to pay attention to. That's not something I need to focus on, you know, especially like, you know, because I think a lot of that thinking comes from people who are like, oh, well, I'm happy with my body. So like self-love isn't something that I need to focus on. And I think that realizing that it goes so much deeper than just, you know, like how you feel about yourself physically, and knowing that everybody needs to do that work on themselves, to love themselves, because, you know, like happy people who love themselves and are compassionate and just like happy with where they're at don't do really awful, hateful, terrible things to other people. You know, they don't bully other people. They don't do like violent things. They don't treat others awfully.
Right.
So I think that, you know, so much of what's like, whether what's going on in the world or what's going on with people we know personally, or just, you know, in general, it's like, if somebody isn't happy with themselves, then that's what they're going to spread. You know, if somebody is really happy and they love themselves, that's the ripple that they're going to have, you know, in the world with everybody else. But if you are feeling negatively, if you don't like yourself, if you don't like who you are, if you're not pleased with where you're at in life, if you don't have compassion, if you're constantly judging yourself and others, then that's what you're going to spread to other people. And so I think that like, no matter who you are, no matter your size, your gender, your sexuality, like, you know, your race, like your age, anything at all, I think like having compassion and love for yourself and, you know, being able to accept yourself and not judge yourself and being able to be happy with yourself and share that with other people is so incredibly important, you know, and it goes so far beyond just wanting to like improve your body image, you know, or to love your body. And so it's so relative and it's so necessary for like literally everybody. So I think that's something I wish, as I think it tends to get there tends to be this idea or this stigma that like, oh, it's only for, you know, like it's only for women, or it's only for people who like are larger bodied, or it's only for people who are overweight, you know, things like that. Right. Actually, it's for everybody, you know, like everybody needs that compassion. Everybody needs that love. Everybody needs that kindness for themselves so that they can give it to other people. So I think that's the one thing that I would really want to address.
No, I totally agree with you. And actually, that was a really good answer because I didn't even think of that when I was like writing the question. But no, yeah, because I was like, I wonder what she's going to say. But no, you're totally right. Because I feel like even for like myself, I kind of like not like denied or like curved self-love, but like I didn't think I needed, because in my mind, it was like people that needed self-love or people that had a low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to like correlate myself with that. But then as like time went on, I'm like, wait, like that's not true. And that's just like some stupid boundary I made up and whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, very true thing. I feel like a lot of people think they don't need it unless they're like at the lowest point of their life or like
Exactly.
they're whatever. And it's not even like the case whatsoever.
Yeah.
Especially men. I feel like a lot of men like
Mhm.
are very like hesitant towards it. And it's like, no, you know, I mean, like my husband, for example, like, even with self-love and self, development in general, like he's very like against it. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's weird. It's really, really
Yeah.
interesting. It's true. It's really like feminine in a way, but it's not.
Yeah, because I mean, it's so much about, you know, like your feelings and being vulnerable and being open to this. And, you know, like it's a huge, it's not like an easy thing, you know, like to be really honest, it's not a switch that you flip. It's something that you have to put time and intention into, like pretty much on a daily basis, you know? And so, you know, and it's so worth it. Like it's 100% worth it to have that freedom and that happiness and have that confidence. But it definitely takes time, and it takes being honest with yourself. It takes being open with yourself. It takes, you know, really doing a lot of self-reflection. So I understand why people would be like, especially men might not be interested in that or feel like it's necessary. And I think something you said too was really reminding me that, you know, self-love and confidence are two very different things. Like, I think that part of loving yourself is can be being confident with who you are. And I love teaching other women, especially, how to feel confident and comfortable in their own skin. But I think that there's definitely a difference, you know, because I think that you can have lots of confidence, but like, that's not the same as being compassionate with yourself or, you know, not judging yourself or just being kind to yourself. So I think that it's important to distinguish those things and to have both of them.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. Confidence and the most confident people doesn't mean they actually like love themselves. So
yeah.
That's very true. So I guess take us through your favorites or your like typical day-to-day self-love kind of like care thing you do.
Yeah, that's such a good question. So I definitely have established more of a routine throughout my days. And that I feel like self-love and self-care is such a big part of my day. So when I wake up, I always start with an adaptogenic tea. Which adaptogens are just like miraculous and amazing. I think if anybody's
facts.
For everybody, like I was going to say, like for anybody who's struggled with anxiety, like get on that, but literally anybody can benefit from them. So, and I was actually just on my Instagram talking about this today, that like, things like that, like my adaptogenic tea and like and certain foods that I eat have become such a part of my self-care, because I've realized that as I've healed my relationship with food and as I've gotten to such a good place with it, that there are certain foods that make me feel really good. And there are certain foods that make me feel energized and put me in the right headspace and don't make me feel anxious and make me feel alert and focused. And so how like incorporating those into my day as part of self-care, because I love myself, you know? So you know, my morning tea, like that's a part of that. And I started reading every morning before I check my phone. So like I'll make my tea and then I'll read like, you know, for like 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'll usually meditate for like 5 minutes, and meditation has been incredibly powerful for me. And it really just allows me to center myself and just prepare myself mentally for the day. And during that time, I really like to, you know, just be thankful for my body and for all the things that I have, and to really remind myself that, okay, I want today to be I want to feel good today. Like I want to make sure that I'm energized. I want to allow myself to move in whatever way feels good to me. And also I just started incorporating this exercise where I start from like my toes and work all the way up to my head. And I just thank every part of my body. I just like,
I like that.
I just say like, I'm so grateful for you and I love you, you know? And I think that's been a really powerful way to just like get in tune with myself and to really just appreciate all of me, because, you know, like not everybody has all of themselves, you know, or not everybody has what I have or what you have. So just like, and just thanking myself for what I do have, that has been really powerful. So I start with that meditation. And then I usually go on to my breakfast, and my breakfast is usually some type of like of shake. I really take into account what I'm feeling that day and what I feel like I need that day. So, you know, like yesterday it was like eggs and toast, you know, and like, but usually it's a shake that's with like a plant-based protein base. And then I add like spinach, and I add like this other fiber stuff, and I add maca powder, and I add like dehydrated fruits and greens. I add all these things because I know they are all going to make me feel really good. You know, like it's kind of this like Mod Podge of different crap in a smoothie, but but it makes me feel really, really good. And that's part of my self-care, and that's part of loving myself.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, I make sure to stay really hydrated. I make sure to like schedule in a lunch break, because giving myself that time to rest is really necessary to avoid feeling burnt out. I remind myself to I think being grateful and like saying affirmations and just that place of gratitude has helped so much, because, you know, I like to feel the way when I think about like anxiety or like self-hatred or judgment, I just think of this really negative, dark headspace. And so to me, that means that like, okay, I need to keep myself in this light, happy headspace in order to avoid that. And if I can do that, like things are probably going to go really great. You know, like if I want to have a 10 out of 10 day, this is what I need to get there. So, you know, what are the things that contribute to that? It's like getting enough rest, staying hydrated, feeling really grateful, because, you know, I think it was Tony Robbins who said, I saw him speak in August, and he's absolutely amazing. And he said, like, you can't feel grateful or appreciative and like angry at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it's like feeling like, okay, feeling grateful, just like all these little things to pick myself up, you know, like celebrating the wins, you know, no matter how small it is, like, yes, I checked this thing off my to-do list. Like, I'm awesome, you know, just like hyping myself up as much as I possibly can. And then just setting boundaries around work. So knowing that like, okay, I'm going to close the computer at 7 p.m. or whatever time that is. And then I'm going to, you know, like make sure to make myself some dinner, and then I'm going to spend some time with my boyfriend, you know, before going to bed. And I'm not going to feel guilty about that. You know, like I'm going to really just enjoy that. And I think those all like kind of all of those different activities or acts have been huge in terms of just me loving myself and taking care of myself, you know? And I think that what it really comes down to is like, it's such a huge part of it is self-care. And it's just like, what do I need to feel my best? What do I need to recharge? What do I need to do for me to make sure that I'm filling up my cup first? Because me prioritizing self-care is an act of self-love. And that's how I show my self-love and how I show my self-respect. So.
Ooh, preach, sister. No, seriously, like I'm like loving everything you're saying. I can't even like, no, you're so amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's like great. I need to, let's just recap. I love the fact that you were talking about your smoothie, in a sense like that you're putting those things in there because how they make you feel.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important. Like, that's amazing. You know, the fact that you focus on that versus like, oh, let me drink a smoothie to whatever situation. Most women would look at it differently. So I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
Also, I love the fact that you are, I'm going to definitely try that whole like from head to toe thing.
Yeah, you should. It's really great. Because
I always do like a gratitude list. I've never thought of like actually going through my entire body, which is actually probably a really good practice. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, you should. You should. Yeah, my meditation is probably different than other people's, and I think it should be personal, but my meditation is more like a visualization, prayer, gratitude practice than just like sitting in silence, because like that's just what works for me. So, you know, a huge part of that is like literally starting at my toes and being like, thank you, toes, I love you. Like, thank you, I love you. You know, just like kind of all those things. And it takes like a minute, but it's really powerful. So you should totally try it.
No, that's what you're definitely well. And then also, so I guess it's a weird topic of that. For I guess a average woman that works say 9 to 5, whatever, and doesn't have much time, I guess if you can give her 2 or 3 tips on how to actually I guess practice self-care, self-love, what do you say they would be?
Yeah, that's another really good question. It's kind of a loaded question because there's so many different things to do.
Right.
But I think that you know, a lot of what we've touched on during our talk has been about mindset and have been about like your headspace. So I think the first tips that I would give would be to start there. So I would incorporate some type of gratitude practice, like we were talking. Like I would start, you know, in the morning, whether it is starting with your toes and working your way all the way up and thinking every part of your body, or it's like you said, making a list of, you know, 10 things that you're really grateful for, or even 3 things that you're really grateful for that morning. And then I would have something similar at night. You know, like at night, I really like to just like count my blessings as much as I can, because I think that the more that you can be happy about and positive about and appreciative of, the more you're going to get that back, you know, like that's what you're going to attract. So I incorporate that into my day and night. So some type of gratitude practice. I think affirmations are incredibly powerful. And actually in the clubhouse, there's, I have a training on like creating affirmations one-on-one and creating affirmations for you, because you can totally go on Pinterest and you can like find affirmations that are really great. And those are a really good place to start, you know, like put them on a Post-it note, like put them in your bullet journal, like put them somewhere where you're going to see them like regularly, or put them in your phone, set them as reminders. But I think that creating ones for yourself are really powerful. And actually, like, I can go over really quickly how I like to help people do that is, you know, I think that affirmations, what they help you do is they help you kind of retrain your beliefs, or they help you like move past these limiting beliefs you have, or these negative thoughts that you have about yourself. So what I like to have people do is write down like 3 limiting beliefs or like negative thoughts that they have about themselves. Like, I am not going to be happy until I lose 10 pounds, or like, I'm not smart enough to apply for this job or to make it through this program, something like that. And then literally write down the opposite. And so say like, I know that I can achieve happiness now just as I am. And I love and appreciate my body for all it is, exactly as it is right now. And then like have that be your affirmation that you say to yourself. So you know that it's directly targeting, you know, the limiting belief or the negative thought that you have.
Right.
And I think like saying those every single morning is like so powerful, or saying them throughout the day, like literally as much as you can. You know, like I know a lot of people like to put them on their bathroom mirror and say them, you know, as they're getting ready in the morning, or again, setting alerts in your phone, whatever that looks like. And I know that, you know, I've talked to people who have told me before, like, I literally can't look in the mirror and say those things. Like, I can't look in the mirror in general, but it's too much for me to be able to look in the mirror and to recite those things. So I would just like say to start with where you're at, you know, to start with, if it just means saying them to yourself quietly, or if it means reading them to yourself, start there. And then when you feel more comfortable, start like saying them out loud, and then start saying them with conviction, and start saying them with energy, and, you know, like, and a lot of intention, and then maybe move to the mirror, you know? So just honor where you're at and just start there. But secondly, yeah, affirmations are huge. And then third, I think like just developing some type of self-care practice. So that's actually another training I have in the clubhouse is like how to create your own self-care plan. And mine has definitely changed throughout the years, but I would really just think about like, what makes you feel good? You know, is it meditation? Is it hydration? Is it movement? Is it certain types of foods? Is it sending out, you know, a gratitude text every day? Is it, you know, making a phone call to someone you haven't talked to in a while and just saying like, hey, I was just thinking about you. So really thinking about the things that make you feel good. And then writing those things out, and like, you know, making a checklist every single day, or making some type of list or reminder, you know, to check in with yourself and to prioritize those things for self-care. So I think that self-care, gratitude, and affirmations, like, I feel like those are terms that are spoken about a lot, and that a lot of people talk about, and it's for a reason. You know, they are incredibly powerful, and they're really, really important. So I would look into those 2 to 3 things. And I know those 2 to 3 things in themselves are a lot, but I think that would be a really good place to start.
No, great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. For sure. I feel like, yeah, like you said, I think they're spoken about a lot, but there's definitely a reason why they are, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to all sorts of, just almost every aspect of life, those guys always seem to be there.
Yeah.
Somehow, which is like crazy. So yeah, I totally agree with those. I feel like I asked you so many questions, but okay. So no, seriously, because it's like, you're awesome. So, okay.
You're amazing. Thank you.
One thing also, how do you feel, I guess when it comes to like today's day and age with social media and everything, and like, do you feel like does that affect your self-care and love? The fact that nowadays, like, we're so on Instagram, we see kind of the whole comparinitis thing, and we can like see people do stuff, whatever. Would you say that's affected you? If so, what have you done to like kind of, I guess, tone it down a bit?
Yeah. I have definitely noticed how social media can cause that like comparisonitis, you know, just like comparing yourself to other people. And I think oftentimes too, you know, like social media can just be such a highlight reel, you know, like it's like you're seeing the great moments. And I do this too, you know, like I put out the good selfies, the happy moments, you know, the highlights. And we're not talking about the boring stuff, or talking about the bad stuff or the sad stuff. So I do try to put that out there, like that authenticity, that vulnerability out as much as I can, and just be really, really honest. But I think that it's really easy to look at people on social media and just be like, wow, like, you know, life is really good for them, or it's like really happy all the time, or their relationship is perfect, or like they're skinny and thin and they're smiling all the time. So they just must and being thin and skinny must be the only way to do that, or must be the key to doing that, you know, something like that. So I think that like I've totally been a victim to that often. So what I do is I just really started being unapologetic about unfollowing anybody who made me feel negatively. Like whether
Really, I
it's,
like that.
yeah, like whether it's somebody who is making me feel like I need to be thinner, like unfollow. If it's somebody who is trying to tell me what to eat, unfollow. If it's somebody who's trying to like, just spread negativity and hate, like unfollowing you. I've even unfollowed or unfriended like family members, who I just were like, because, my energy is so precious to me, and it's really important to me to be surrounded by as much positivity as possible. And I think that social media is one of the things where we're so inundated by it and all that's happening. And it's like everywhere around us, but we do have control, like to an extent, like we have like a decent amount of control with it. So it's like, you don't owe anybody anything in terms of a follow or anything like that. Like if they're not making you feel good, then that's not somebody that you need to be following. Even like with business, I think that, and you and I like owning our own businesses and being on this journey with entrepreneurship, it's like, there's been times where I've had to either like unfollow or at least like hide posts from other people when I get too much like, oh my gosh, I have to be doing what they're doing. Or like, oh my gosh, they're like doing so much better than I am. And it's never anything personal, it's never like, oh, I hate you as a person, or I think, again, like not wanting to spread that negativity. It's just like, I'm being selfish and that's what's best for me right now, is to unfollow you. So, I say that, the minute like I went and unfollowed all the Kardashians and all the celebrities and all these different people, and it felt really hard. Honestly, I was like, wait, but I'm going to miss so much and this and that. But honestly, I forgot about it 30 seconds later. And so, and maybe like, it's not the Kardashians for you, but whoever it is, I think I would really like start to pay attention to how these accounts are making you feel, like, are they making you feel inspired and motivated and happy about yourself, or are they making you feel bad? And honestly too, like if you were following me and I made you feel that way, I would want you to unfollow me, because that's not, that's not the place I want you to be in. So, so I think that social media is an incredible tool. I actually think it's really grown and developed and enhanced the body positive community in a lot of ways. And the self-love community, I think it's brought it's been able to bring a lot of people together and share a lot of messages, to people that you wouldn't otherwise meet. So I think it's really powerful. But I do think that we like have to remember that we get to choose, like to an extent, who we're following, what we're seeing, things like that, and to not be afraid or to not feel badly for unfollowing other people. And I think on the other side of it too, if somebody does unfollow you, or if somebody like, like whether they're a family or a friend or somebody that you really liked, that's about them and where they're at right now, so it's just like, that's not something to take personally. That's just like, you keep doing you and like they're doing them, and don't, like, it's just where they're at, so I think that, so I think social media has been really helpful and also can be harmful. But I think knowing how to utilize it and knowing how to use it in a way that's best for me has made all the difference. So
right, and I agree. I actually do the same. It's so funny you said that, because being like in this whole entrepreneurial like journey, I've had to like dive deep into self-love, and like the accounts that would just annoy me for no reason, I just felt like annoyed, I would just unfollow, and I would be like, well, I hope whatever, like, it is what it is, like, because at the end of the day, it is kind of, I always say that, and I like, people make fun of me about it, but it's like, it is all about you. Like, it really is, and it's just like, that's okay, so I totally agree with that. But that funny, you kind of brought it up before a little bit, but I should have asked you earlier, but how do you or any tips on how to, because I personally even struggle with this, how to commit to your self-love when your partner is not? Like, is your boyfriend into, I don't know, the boyfriend, but is he like also into self-love, or like, does he judge you? Like, how is that?
No, so he's not at all. Like, my boyfriend is a software engineer. So he's very like, I don't know, I live in Silicon Valley. So like, when I say like stereotypical software engineer, everybody knows what that means out here. But for those of you who don't, he's very like, he's so smart, and he's a computer guy, so he's like very into computers, and he's kind of like, like, I don't want to be like stereotypical, but he's a guy, like, I think he's much more like, he loves computers and his video games and stuff like that. And when it comes to the personal development stuff, that's not as much of his like forte or focus. But I feel very grateful that he's incredibly supportive. So whatever, like, when it comes to like, he's so accepting of me and my body, no matter what, weight or size it is, or no matter what color my hair is, from having blonde hair to pink hair. So he's just like very accepting and supportive. So I really appreciate that. And I think that, when it comes to to like being in a relationship with somebody or having a partner who's maybe not in that space. Like, I think that we can't control other people, you know, like we can't make them do anything that they don't want to do or think anything that they don't want to do. And I think what's just really important is to continue to do everything you're doing for yourself, and to know that like I'm loving myself for me, and by me, like me loving myself and me taking care of myself is going to allow me to show up better in my relationships. It's going to allow me to show up better in the world, to show up better for my clients, to show up better for my friends and family. So just knowing to kind of like be that example, you know, that you want to be, you know, like I think that's like the best situation is that where you can both be yourselves and support each other in doing that, but it's okay if it's not exactly the same, you know,
Right.
like I think there's totally times when I've thought like, oh, it'd be so great if he was into personal development more and we could be doing this. But, you know, like, but how lucky am I that he just supports that, you know, and that's okay. And like, as much as John allows me to be, my boyfriend's name's John. So as much as John allows me to be me, like I want to allow him to be him, you know, and not like push him into this thing that I should be doing, you know, or anything like that. Like, I just want to support him being his best self. So yeah, so I would just say to focus on you. Actually, if you're familiar with Gabby Bernstein, she's like absolutely incredible. I'm almost done reading The Universe Has Your Back, and I just saw her speak on her book tour for Judgment Detox.
I saw.
Yeah,
I was like, oh.
She's incredible. And so much of what she says is like, and I think this idea of judgment, you know, like is so relative to all of us, because, you know, she talks a lot about how like, you know, if you're feeling negatively or if you're judging other people or if you're feeling, you know, this just like anger or resentment, like that is coming from judgment. And how can you replace that with love? You know, and like, how can you say like, you know, instead of feeling negatively or instead of feeling off about the situation, how can I take that off the table and replace it with love? Or how can I see love in this situation? Or how can I see acceptance? Or how can I see joy? And I think that's been something that I've really challenged myself to do lately, is to try to see how I can see those things, you know, and to say like, you know, I want to accept you for who you are, just as I want you to accept me for who I am. So does that like kind of answer the question?
No, of course. Yeah, it totally does. Yeah, no, of course. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. And also tell me about your Clubhouse. Like, I was also watching like your video about it, and I'm like so inspired to even like join it myself.
Oh my gosh.
Because I feel like, no, seriously, I feel like it's like I guess I know that the more self-love and the more internal work you do, like the better you can show up in this world, you know? Yeah. So it's like once you get like a little like hit of it, almost like a drug, but it's like a drug, you know, because once you're feeling that kind of like happiness and that high from the happiness, it's really hard to not continue like to do that, you know? So
totally.
Tell me all about it and kind of run me through it a little bit, like what it's about.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that, because, you know, I think when I created the Clubhouse, I created it based off of what really helped me and what really benefited me in this journey. So hearing from other people that they're responding to it, or that it seems like a place that they need to, is the best thing in the world that I could hear, because, you know, I made it for other people. But essentially the Self Love Clubhouse is a program that I created to teach others how to cultivate and embody self-love and confidence. And it's a monthly program. So essentially what it is every single month there are new trainings that are delivered on all things self-love. So kind of what I touched on before is how, you know, this idea of self-love is so like has so many layers, and, you know, it's not just about like being comfortable in your own skin and loving your body, but it's also about mindset, and it's about how you take care of your body and your relationship with food and movement and all these different things. So I wanted a place to address those things in a way that was digestible, that like, you know, where you could actually go through the trainings and be able to take things away from them, so they were impactful, and also it was affordable. Like, I think that was a huge thing for me, is being able to reach as many people as I could. So like I said, every single month there's new trainings on all those different topics. The trainings are like 20 to 25 minutes long. So I think each month it comes out to be like 2 to 3 hours worth of content, so I wanted it to be something that was, you know, no matter if you're working, if you're going to school, no matter how busy you are, you're able to have the time to fit this in, you know, whether it's like you sit down and do it all at once, or you break it up into doing it, you know, like a lesson here and a lesson there. And then in addition, like I am building up the resources section, which I'll also contribute to every single month. And that's just kind of like, you know, what I want the Self Love Clubhouse to be is like your hub for all things self-love. So I want to take all the content I've done, like articles I've read, just different like research, everything like that, that's going to help you on this journey. I want to put it all in one place. So that's what the site is about. And then in addition, you know, I think that on a journey like that, community is so important and support is so important. So We also have like a private Facebook group where you can connect with other members. You can share your successes. You can ask questions. And then I do like what I call office hours there regularly. So that I'll be on video live, and then you can ask me like, hey, I went through this training and I don't get it, or this isn't helping me, or I'm really stuck on this one thing. And then I can still give you that like one-on-one, you know, like coaching, support, etc. So
right.
yeah, so that's what it's about. And I'm really, really excited about it. And actually, I know that, so the day that we're filming this, I'm not sure when it's going to air, enrollment to the public is actually closing today. But I really wanted to give you and your audience like that opportunity to dive in if they're, yeah, of course, if that's something that, you know, if what I've talked about has resonated with you, or if that's a place that you feel like you need, that's 100% something that I want to support. So, I created a coupon code. So Feel Better Naked, all one word. Yeah. Like it'll, if you use that, it'll open up enrollment for you. Like I said, it's closed to the public, but I wanted it to make that accessible. So if the code Feel Better Naked, will grant you access, and it'll also take 10% off the first payment, cool. And then 10% off every month after that. So because it's a monthly program, it takes, there's a monthly price, but with that code, it should help out a bit. So I think
thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
That's so awesome.
You know, if self-love or like self-improvement is something that you're looking to make a priority, if, you know, you're just like really over, like hating yourself, if you want to become BFS with your body, that's something I can totally get on board with and I totally connect with. And that's exactly why I created the site. So yeah.
No, yeah. Like I said before, I feel like the message that you're sending is so needed, so important, like all the way down to like children. Like I'm not trying to be dramatic, but like there should be like a course in school about this stuff.
So oh my gosh. Yeah. And actually, I know we're so like running low on time, but I'm actually starting last year I started to create a nonprofit. And I think this year is when we're actually going to be able to really start to like get the paperwork finalized and dive in. And it's going to be for young girls to improve body image, because
that's amazing.
Yeah. Like I touched on before, like that was, you know, being 8 years old, that's when it started for me. And I think that's pretty much the norm now. So I really wanted to use this opportunity to not only help like adult women and adult people, but also younger children as well. Cause I think that's really important.
No, I totally agree. I'm so like, you're amazing. No lie, you're amazing. You inspire me to like do more. I'm like in this conversation, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like,
seriously, too. You're helping so many people, and you know, like it's all in our own way. You know, we all do it so differently, but I think we all have the intention to bring positivity and bring light and bring happiness and confidence to other people. And that's, you know, like that's incredible. So you're doing amazing stuff.
No, I agree. You're doing amazing stuff. Katie, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate your time and your intention in this conversation. It was amazing. Honestly, probably my favorite interviews. Honestly, it was like, no, seriously, it's amazing. So
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
I want to end the thing now.
Okay.
So we can like keep talking.